The hammer of truth. It was a sweltering Saturday in June, the kind of day in Willow Creek, Ohio, where the sun pressed down like a heavy hand. I was perched on the roof of my two-story colonial, the home I'd bought with every dime I'd saved over 15 years as a structural engineer. A spring storm had ripped a patch of shingles from the northeast corner, and I was up there with my roofer's hammer, prying up the damage, feeling the rhythm of repair. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was steady, almost meditative until it wasn't. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing up there?" The voice was sharp, slicing through the humid air. I looked down to see a woman standing on my lawn, hands on hips, her bright pink athleisure outfit glaring against the green grass. Margaret Hensley, the self-proclaimed guardian of our cul-de-sac, was notorious for her HOA complaints and her habit of policing everyone's business. I'd seen her before, leaving notes about unmowed lawns or trash cans left out too long. Now, she was glaring at me, her face tight with suspicion. "Just fixing my roof, ma'am." I called down, keeping my tone calm. "Storm damage from April." "Fixing it," she scoffed, stepping closer to the base of my ladder. "It sounds like you're tearing the place apart. I've lived here for 25 years, and I've never seen a homeowner climb up there like some handyman. Are you even qualified?" The implication hit like a slap. As a black man in a mostly white suburb, I'd felt the sting of suspicion before, but this was different. Margaret's words weren't just about the noise, they were about me, my presence, my right to be here. I took a deep breath, the smell of warm tar filling my lungs. "This is my house, ma'am. I don't need a license to fix my shingles." "Your house." Her laugh was sharp, like breaking glass. I knew the previous owners. They were different. People like you don't just own homes like this. She climbed 3 rungs up my ladder, her face now level with the eaves, her voice dropping to a venomous hiss. "You're a danger. That hammer's a weapon. You're probably using cheap materials, ruining the neighborhood's value." Before I could respond, she pulled out her phone, her fingers shaking with righteous fury. "I'm calling 911. There's a man on a roof, destroying property. He's armed and dangerous." She smirked up at me, triumphant. "We'll see who belongs here." I stayed on the roof, my hammer resting beside me. Descending felt like admitting defeat, and I refused to give her that. My heart pounded as I watched the quiet street turn into a stage for her drama. Within minutes, a police cruiser pulled up, its lights flashing red and blue across my freshly painted garage door. Margaret met the officers in my driveway, her posture shifting from aggressor to victim. "Thank God you're here," she cried, her voice trembling with fake fear. He was smashing the roof with this huge hammer. When I asked what he was doing, he got hostile. I was terrified. 2 officers stepped out, an older one with a tired expression and a younger one, tense and alert. "Sir, can you come down?" the older one called. I secured my hammer in my tool belt and climbed down, each rung feeling heavier than the last. As my feet hit the grass, the younger officer stepped forward, hand near his holster. "We've got a report of property damage and threatening behavior." "He doesn't live here," Margaret interrupted, pointing at me like I was a stray dog. "The real owners must be away. He's probably breaking in through the roof." I raised my hand slowly. "My name's on the mailbox," I said, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. "The deed's inside. I'm repairing storm damage. That hammer's a standard roofing tool. You can check it." The older officer's eyes flickered with doubt, not at me, but at Margaret. "Ma'am, did he threaten you? Did you see him damage anything that wasn't already broken?" She hesitated. The noise was violent, and the way he looked at me was menacing. And, well, her voice dropped, conspiratorial. "Let's be honest, people like him don't belong in a neighborhood like this." The younger officer's jaw tightened. He glanced at the roof, where new shingles sat neatly beside the old ones, the work precise and professional. Just then, a black SUV with tinted windows rolled into the cul-de-sac. The street went quiet. A man in his late 40s, in a crisp suit, a badge glinting at his belt. The officer straightened. Margaret's face froze. The man walked straight to me, a faint smile on his face. "Productive morning, James?" he said. "Trying to be, Director Thompson," I replied, relief flooding me. "Just dealing with a neighborhood watch issue." Director Thompson, head of Ohio's Department of Building Safety, turned to Margaret, his smile gone. "I'm guessing you don't know who this man is." "James Carter is my lead inspector, the state's top expert on structural integrity." He spent years shutting down shady contractors. And you called 911 because he was fixing his roof. Margaret's face drained of color. I didn't know, she stammered. He didn't have a uniform or a van. He just seemed. Seemed what? I cut in, my voice low and sharp. Like I couldn't afford this house. Like I was a criminal instead of a homeowner. Her son, a lanky kid in his 20s named Ethan, appeared from the SUV's passenger side, looking mortified. Mom, stop this, he hissed, trying to pull her away. She shook him off, but the damage was done. Director Thompson's voice was ice. Officers, I trust you'll file a report on this false 911 call. I'll be submitting my own about the harassment of a state official. The older officer nodded grimly. Ma'am, you're being cited for filing a false report and obstruction. You'll need to appear in court. Margaret swayed, her perfect world unraveling. Ethan grabbed her arm, his eyes darting to my roof with a strange intensity. That storm did a number on these houses, didn't it? He muttered. That northeast corner's a weak spot. His words were too specific, his tone too nervous. I filed it away, a puzzle piece that didn't yet fit. That evening, my neighbor, an elderly man named Tom, showed up with a casserole. What she did was shameful, he said. You're welcome here, James. Others followed, a Puerto Rican couple who'd been targeted over their noisy kids, a Vietnamese family harassed about their garden. A pattern emerged. Margaret's complaints always hit non-white residents. At the next HOA meeting, I stood with a dozen neighbors and laid out the truth. One by one, they shared their stories. The board, horrified, voted unanimously to remove Margaret as compliance chair. A petition demanded bias training and a review of HOA rules. It felt like justice until Ethan showed up at my garage 2 nights later. I need to tell you something, he said, his voice raw. My dad was the foreman for Summit Builders, the company that built this neighborhood. He cut corners, cheap shingles, bad wiring, weak foundations. He got kickbacks, made a fortune, and then bailed when the company went bust. That's how my parents bought their house. When he died, I started fixing his mistakes, but it's everywhere. Your roof? The sheathing's not up to code. Mom knew. She saw you up there and freaked out, thinking you'd find the rot. His confession hit like a freight train. This wasn't just about Margaret's racist, it was about a massive fraud. I called Director Thompson. The next day, I was back on my roof, not as a homeowner, but as an inspector, documenting every flaw. The state launched a quiet investigation. Ethan cooperated, pointing investigators to the worst defects. They found it all: fire hazard wiring, leaking windows, crumbling foundations. Margaret's HOA emails revealed she'd blocked inspections to hide the truth. Worse, her late husband wasn't just a foreman, was a silent partner in Summit Builders, funneling profits offshore. Her entire life was built on a lie. Margaret was charged with conspiracy, fraud, and fair housing violations. She was convicted and sentenced to 7 years. Her house was sold, and the proceeds funded repairs. Ethan got probation and a construction ban, but avoided prison. The neighborhood became a construction zone, but the restitution fund ran dry, and homeowners faced steep bills. My hero status felt hollow as neighbors grappled with financial ruin. Then Ethan dropped another bomb. While picking up litter for community service, he whispered, "The sealant they're using, Permaseal 300, it's the same junk my dad used. It cracks in 2 years. The contractors are scamming you." I tested it, sneaking samples from my foundation and sending them to a lab. The results confirmed it. The state's repair program was using faulty materials. Digging deeper, I found the contractor, Horizon Repairs, was tied to a political donor. The fraud was back, bigger and bolder. Director Thompson and I traced the money to Harold Grayson, the HOA's former treasurer. He'd been Summit Builders' accountant, hiding the profits and steering Horizon to the contract. We confronted him in his pristine living room. His smile crumbled as we laid out the evidence. His arrest sparked a scandal, forcing the state to scrap Horizon's contract and fund a real repair program. Ethan's probation was eased, and he started a fraud detection business, turning his shame into purpose. A year later, Willow Creek was quiet again. At a block party, Ethan and I watched our kids play, the new roofs gleaming. My dad said a house needs a strong foundation, he said wryly. He just didn't know what that meant. He was right. Foundations aren't just concrete, theory, truth, trust, and accountability. Our homes were fixed, But our community was rebuilt on something stronger. Margaret's 911 call, born of hate and fear, had exposed a rot far deeper than any shingle. By facing it, we'd built something true. What do you think? Have you ever faced injustice or violence in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about standing up to hate and rebuilding trust. Your voice matters.